Hi guys, welcome to today's session, which is just covering automation, integration and outsourcing in your business. So my name is Laura and I work as the business development and operations and marketing manager, bit of a lumped role for the Rural Woman Cooperative. So my background is in business operations, automations, creating systems and processes, and also in marketing. But today we're going to focus on business operations and how we can streamline all of the things that you guys complete in your businesses every day to help improve your efficiency. So I've got a few slides here which are just going to run us through the different areas. So one of the things that people probably ignore when they first are setting up their business is what their operations actually are and why it's important to understand what your business does in the nitty-gritty and why you should be paying attention to those operations and how they're tracking and how they're growing with you as you grow as a business. So I know a lot of us who have started businesses, we tend to sort of just get into the day-to-day of, we want to get sales in the door. We want to make our clients happy. We want to get good feedback and we want people to keep coming back to us. And that's fabulous, but operations is actually what falls behind all of our client servicing. So you can't have good client servicing without having really carefully mapped out and really adhered to operations in your business. So I recommend for every business that's starting up, or when you guys have reached a point where you're sort of feeling a little bit out of control in how things are going, it's good to sit down and take a step back and actually map out all your operations. So what that does is it helps you understand how your business operates every day. It helps you to find opportunities to increase efficiency, removes tasks that don't add value. I know there are heaps of tasks that we sometimes complete day to day that we probably don't need to, or that could be done by an automation or an integration or through outsourcing that is going to help us add value by letting our team members or letting yourself focus on those really high value or core operations that are important to the day-to-day operation of your business, rather than the small tasks that just build up, that get us all flustered, make us feel out of control, and we probably don't complete them very well either when we get sick of them and we're just trying to get them out of the way. Focusing on your operations also helps you remove the tasks that don't add value, understand what your team members do. So if you're lucky enough to have a number of employees, understanding what each employee does, who's responsible for what, and how they all interact. It helps establish an overview of your key tasks and helps you stay on top of how your business operates as you grow. So that's the key thing. So as I said before, normally as your business gets busier and busier, your revenue increases, all the rest of it, you suddenly go, oh my God, I'm completing all of this work and I don't necessarily have control over how to do it, or I can't fit it all in. Those are the points of recognition where you probably need to realize that you're in a bit of trouble, but it's okay. That's time to sit down and start to look at your operations and map them out and see how you could get ahead by using automation, integration, and outsourcing. So the other thing is that sometimes people will hesitate at going down the path of automation and integration and outsourcing because they think it's going to be too expensive or it's going to be unaffordable. So that is a big myth. So there are automation platforms which are very affordable. You can even get free programs that will help you. Integration is free. It's actually included in pretty much all of the software that you use. It's just a matter of spending the time setting it up, which is going to save you more time down the track. And then outsourcing. Yes, outsourcing can be expensive or it can feel expensive, but if you actually sit down and you do the numbers on either your time or a team member's time in what it would cost for them to be completing those tasks repeatedly every day, every week, and then calculate that versus what it's actually costing to outsource those tasks, usually it's actually much more affordable to do it that way. So let's look at the 3 pillars of efficient operations. So automation. Automation is the use of technology and software to perform tasks and processes. Now, sometimes automation and integration can get blurred. It can get a bit confusing. They sound like the same thing. And sometimes they actually work together as well. So Zapier, which is sort of the most popular and most well-known automation software, uses a mixture of automation and integration to perform its tasks. Basically, automation is all about performing tasks and processes with minimal human interaction, streamlining repetitive tasks and time-consuming activities, and replacing any manual handling with automated systems. So you're not actually doing any data entry, you're not doing, dragging an email into a folder, you're not adding a label or a tag to something, in your CRM. It's all done by the system. So what this does is it helps reduce errors, speeds up your business operations, and frees up your employees, as I mentioned. And the biggest thing that contributes to your business is it adds to consistency and scalability and also cost savings, because you're not spending that money on your staff members sitting there wasting time. You're actually paying a single piece of software to do all of those things for you. Now, integration, similar again and can be used with automation, but integration is two different types of software actually talking to each other. So most of your software that you have, or programs or applications that you use, will have a section called integration. Probably if it's not in your main menu, it will be under your settings menu. And when you go there, it will usually show a whole bunch of other software programs that it will connect to. And what that does is it's helping data to transfer between two different sources or more than one source. So it's combining different systems, applications, or data sources to work seamlessly together. So this allows for the smooth flow of information and data or processes across an organization. So instead of you having to go into one program and copying the figures out of that one and then going into a different program and dropping them in there and having to check them or manually enter them, it will automatically transfer that data over to your other program so that that information is there for you without having to touch it at all. So it allows real-time communication between departments and software, immediate data sharing, reduced manual data entry, and streamlined operations. And then outsourcing seems like a strange thing to add into this, but we're talking about getting efficiency in your business with this. So outsourcing is contracting out certain business functions or processes to an external service provider. So you probably have heard of this, like virtual assistants. That is an example of outsourcing. There can be outsourcing industries that are really specific to a high knowledge tasks. So for example, paraplanning in financial planning, you can actually outsource all of your internal paraplanning to a different company who will complete all of the actual technical know-how in terms of building a financial plan, and then send that back to the financial advisors in a business. So outsourcing doesn't always have to be repetitive or low value tasks. It can actually sometimes be really core components of your business that you just think would be done more efficiently by people who are specializing in it. So you can actually get outsourcing companies or companies that do outsourcing to set up all of your automation and integration for you. And we'll talk about some examples of that later as well. So that helps your team focus on the things that are most important to your business, or the things that you really want to have oversight on within your day-to-day operations. So automation examples, and I know this is a bit small, sorry, but it's just a general example. You can have really simple automations. Automations don't have to be super complicated. So you can see a simple automation there on the left and a complex automation on the right. Now, this is from MailerLite, which is the CRM that we're using. And you can see an automation can be as simple as when a subscriber joins a group. So I've gone in and maybe I've manually added that subscriber to a group, or maybe I actually have an automation through Zapier that will automatically assign a subscriber to a group. All it does is sends an email out when it sees that group applied. So it can be very, very simple. And even though you think automation sounds complicated, or maybe an automation that is so simple can't be valuable, it can be incredibly useful, especially if you have repetitive tasks or you want control over the timing of tasks as well. So if I want an email to go out to people who have renewed a membership with us, I don't want them to have to wait 2 days before getting a notification from us that they've been renewed. We want that to happen immediately. So the automation helps things happen quickly as well. And you can see on the right-hand side, there is a really complex version of an automation. So I've actually built ones that are probably about 3 times the size of this one. But what it does is it uses a different set of rules at each step to determine what the next step is in the automation itself. So you might start out with someone joining a group. You might check some details on them. Are they a certain age? Do they have certain occupations applied to them? And then based on that, yes, we might send a certain email, or maybe we won't send an email. Maybe we'll move them to a different group so that we can track them. Maybe we want to specify the email that goes out to them to be different to what it would be for, say, a different type of occupation. So you can build out automations to be incredibly complicated. They can include wait times, checking conditions of the data set that you've provided, and that can save you a lot of time and effort that you probably wouldn't want to go through and manually complete on your own. So let's look at why automate. So automation reduces labor costs by replacing repetitive and time-consuming manual tasks. There are fewer errors caused by manual handling. So there's no transposition, there's no data entry. I've seen a lot of times simple things, just email addresses getting messed up because someone's gone and entered it from a client card, which was filled out as a PDF. It removes all of those errors. Faster processing times, ability to allocate human resources to more valuable tasks, increased productivity. Automations occur real-time 24/7. So while you're sleeping or while you're not in the office, especially if it's your own business, you've still got automations working in the background. Every time someone submits a sale or signs up to your mailing list, an automation is going to continue to work all the time. So there's never going to be a delay in that. And then when you come on, you can come and see all of the results of that. So you've got plenty of things to do when you get in. Consistency, so they follow predefined rules and ensure uniform quality and compliance. So they are good for things that you do have compliance risks for. So any industries, doctors, financial advisors, legal, things like that. If you actually set up an automation, even bookkeeping, accounting, if you set up automations, you're probably helping yourself to adhere to compliance as well as reducing those errors that are possible. Automations are scalable no matter how high your workload is. So that's a really big positive. So it doesn't matter how much business you have coming through the door, an automation can handle it in the background. You could have 2,000 subscribers, sign up in one day. All of them are going to get the exact same email, or all of them are going to get, that workflow that you've put together. Provides competitive edge. You're able to deliver faster because you're not focusing on those small tasks. Provides data analysis and insight. So how many tasks, when, how often. So that data analysis, sometimes you might not see it's so helpful to begin with, but in time you can go back and see, oh my God, we've actually, had 45 clients run through this automation and it's worked perfectly. And that shows us that we've got 45 examples of people who are involved in this particular element of our business. And adaptability to change. You can edit and enhance your automations as you go. So you can always go back in, edit, add steps, add split testing, add conditions. So, if something matches a certain condition or doesn't match a condition, you can change the behaviors that occur with that. And you can continue to change those as your business grows. So some integration examples. So MailerLite, I talked about, is a CRM that we use, and you can see I'm using Zapier. So Zapier, as I mentioned, can do integration and automation. So this much shows sort of examples of both. But let's talk about integration to start with. So integration is one program talking to another. And you can see here on the left, we've got MailerLite is just sending an email in Gmail. So integration is just the Zapier program or your individual program. So you could probably automate this through MailerLite. That program talking to another one. So this one is very simple. Every time a subscriber is triggered in MailerLite, I want to get a notification. So it's going to send me an email. So instead of me having to go and look at my MailerLite data every day, I'm actually just going to get an email that updates me when I've got a new subscriber. That's an example of a pretty simple integration. And then there's a more complicated one on the right-hand side, but still not too difficult. When you get a new payment in Stripe, so a lot of businesses are going to have sales coming through, whether you use Stripe, whether it's your e-commerce or your online cart in your website. When you get a payment, you can set it up so that you've got an integration that receives that payment, checks the date, or checks a feature of that payment, how much it was, what product they bought, for example, and then updates that in another application. So for this one, we receive a payment. It's going to check the condition. It only wants to continue if the amount matches a certain amount, because I don't want, in this example, I don't want the payment going through the integration if it's, for example, $500. I only want it to apply to transactions of $100. So you can put that in as a only continue if condition. Format the date so that we're not getting bizarre date formats across all of our software. And it's going to create or update a subscriber in MailerLite. So it's going to go into MailerLite and look to see if there is a subscriber that matches the data that was provided in the Stripe transaction. And if it does, it will update the details. And if it doesn't, it's going to create a new subscriber. So that's an example of an integration that's a little bit more complicated, but still not too advanced. It's something you could easily set up. So for example, if you get a new payment through, you could set it up so that you get an email to your inbox so that you can see someone's made a sale. You can then push that information over to your CRM so that you're creating a client card for every single person who purchases, or you're updating your client card as well with the most recent purchase history in there. And then you could add in different integrations with other software as well that you've got. So you could add it into your bookkeeping software. So what Zapier does, which is probably more useful, is it can integrate more than one type of software. So you might, instead of being restricted when you go into the integration section of your settings, instead of being restricted to just linking to one different type of software at a time and creating a step there, what Zapier does is actually connect multiple software types at the same time and creates a range of steps for the data to flow through. So it's not just being transferred to one, it's flowing through a whole range of different applications. So why integrate? We've sort of covered this a little bit, but seamless data flow between different software applications, continuous flow of information across your organization. So that can help if you have a bigger organization. So say you've got a team of 5 and that's made up of 3 different departments, so to speak. Integration can ensure that the data coming from one department is actually immediately available for a second department. And it's also available for you as management or you as the owner to be able to see that at any time. Increases efficiency. You don't need to wait for manual data entry across platforms. Ability to access data and information in real time for increased efficiency and decision making. So for example, if you've got a board meeting or you've got, a meeting with investors, something like that, you can actually pull up the real-time data in a single application and see everything you need there to be able to make your decisions. Delivers cost savings, so no need to pay for human resources to complete data entry or manual reconciliation. Improves your customer experience, so you can view your customer data across all of your platforms in one place. So that's a good sort of add-on to what I was saying before. Say you've had a sale and you want to add it into your CRM. In the days before integration, you would have had to pull up your client card and see that person's name. Go over to your e-commerce software and check what that person actually, bought, and then maybe enter that data somewhere else. And then you might also have the fact that they booked in for a service. So for beauty salons, for example, you're going to have product sales and you're going to have services that you provided. And someone might go online and purchase their products, but they've had a service in person. What it does is it helps improve your customer experience because you can see at any point what your customer has done across your entire business. So you can see that they've been purchasing their products online, but they've actually still been coming in and making their regular appointments. So you can view your customer experience, and that helps you achieve better customer experience. Provides business intelligence, so collection of data across multiple sources for analysis. More secure data, so software is connected in a safe, cyber-secure method that reduces the need to store information externally to the software. So gone are the days of spreadsheets. I get very annoyed when I see spreadsheets full of data because now we're in an era where all of that data should be on a platform. So you need to figure out which is your most central platform that you want to focus on. So if you ask any question about your client or any question about someone who's having a service with you, you should know the one program or one piece of software that you go to where everything integrates into it, and you can see that snapshot that I talked about from the client servicing perspective. So it's also safe. So instead of having that data transferred out to a Google document, there's a high risk every time you do that if someone breaches your Google account or anything like that, that data is then breached. And unless you've got very, very good cyber security policies in place, you are at a lot of risk there with your clients having their data exposed. So having it stored within the apps, as long as you've got your multi-factor authentication set up, as long as your passwords are safe and secure, you're actually adding to the data security as well by having that data maintained and kept and backed up inside the actual software itself. Integrations are scalable, so exactly like automations, they grow and increase with your business. You can always find new things to integrate. You can always add more steps in. It gives you an innovative edge, so you can provide additional value to clients by integrating programs or finding better ways to provide services. So an example of that is in the last company I worked for, they did online mobile budgeting. So we had an app called MoneySoft. But what we did was we were able to integrate MoneySoft with all of the different platforms where we had that had services provided to the clients. So for example, we had an investment account, you've got a home loan, and you've got their bank accounts. We actually could set up the integration so all of that data fed into the MoneySoft account. And we could use that as a service to provide to our clients by saying, okay, now that you've had a financial plan, we're actually going to put all this information together. We're going to sync it all into MoneySoft, and you're going to be able to access a snapshot of your entire financial circumstances in one app on your phone. So that gives you a step of innovation in your business as well, something that you can add as extra value to your clients, and you can even charge more for that service as well. And time saving, gets back hours of jumping between programs or manual data entry. Outsourcing examples, let's look at these. So I spoke before about how you could use general agencies or general sort of virtual assistant agencies to help you with outsourcing, or very specific tailored outsourcing services. So automation agency is a great business that offers a set amount of hours or a certain amount of tasks that they'll complete for a set fee. So you can see on the left, $650 per month gives you up to 3 open tasks at a time. WordPress, I think that's WordPress backup that does, how many brands you have, and your priority as well. So it really works like a shopping list. It's quite impressive, the platform that they built out. You go in, you create a new card, and you enter all of the information that you want on a particular task that you want completed. So say you want a week's worth of social media content produced, you can go and say, this is our theme, this is what I want produced. I want 3 reels, I want 5 carousels, I want 2 standard flat photo images, and I want them to look like this, sound like this. Here's the data or here's the text that I want in there, here's the captions, here's the links. Could you go and create this? And you hit add to queue, and it will pop it up onto the top of the list. And that's what it means by it says open tasks at a time. So I might go in and create another 2 separate tasks for things that I need completed in my business. And their team in the background will just go and create those and then send you updates. And then it comes up in like a bit of a chat. So that's a really good example of outsourcing to an agency like a virtual assistant or an automation agency like that, which handles a range of different tasks. And then there's the paraplanning outsourcing example that I gave, which is a specific business function that you're outsourcing entirely. So another one is for home loans. So you can actually outsource all of the application details and the application documents that you need to set up to a different company. And the reason that helps is because it's a lot of really repetitive work. There's a lot of data entry from all the different sources of information that a client's provided to you. And it just helps in sending that particular task every time to someone who does this every day. So they go in every day, they're never going to make mistakes, or very rarely make mistakes in entering that data. They know all the forms that need to be prepared. They've got all the privacy documents that need to be signed by the client, and all of that can happen behind the scenes while you're focusing on other business operations, so that you can focus on that while they are completing the things that they're good at. And then it comes back to you. It's all compliant by the mortgage industry, and you can help speed up the delivery of your, say, home loan service to your client by having that included in your business. Obviously, the more specialized services like that are going to be a little bit more costly. But again, when you compare that to the cost of doing that in-house, most of the time it comes out to make more sense to do it as an outsourcing task. So where to start? Is that where it's at? Yes. Where to start? So that can sound a bit overwhelming when you look at it, and you might go, oh my God, my business is operating and it's fine. You know, it could be better, but that just sounds like too much work. It's not too much work. You just need to prioritize it. So I would sit down and block yourself 1 to 2 hours and take stock of your current situation. So find a method that suits you to map out the following. So I actually like to use post-it notes where I will write down every single step of my operations in a business, and I will put them on different colors or in different sections on a wall. So I'll start by having it mapped out like a flow chart in how things work for, say, my client journey. And then what I'll do afterwards is I'll start to move them into different categories. So if you want to do it with highlighters, you can do that as well. You can highlight, you know, everything in pink for integration, everything in orange for outsourcing, etc. So it's good to map all that out and then ask yourself the following. So once you've done that and you've highlighted everything differently, what are the different types of software that you use? So how many different types of software is all of that across? What automation and integration capabilities do they already have? So you may already have automation available in your CRM, or integration might be applicable for most of the software applications that you use. And what is your current process for each key business function? So this is where you start to find the value in doing this exercise. So every single item that you do, so whether it's a client call comes in, okay, what do you do when that happens? You complete the call, cool. Then you want to go and record that somewhere. Where are you recording it? What information are you entering? Then what are you doing with that information? Are you sending it to a different type of software? Are you putting it into an email to send back to the person who called you with information about their inquiry? Looking at what your actual process is going to help you identify the areas that you can integrate, or you can start to look at what can be automated and what can be integrated. So in that example, someone puts a phone call in and I want to enter that data somewhere. Maybe I'm going to enter it into my CRM. I'm going to start a new client file that has their email address, their phone number, their name, and I've got notes there from their first inquiry. And then I want to have an email sent to them. I might want to write that email manually, but I definitely want a record of that email going back in to the CRM. So I've got a snapshot of every single type of content of communication that I've had with that client. So that's one thing that you could automate. You could have Gmail talking to your CRM and sending that email template back as either a PDF file or entering the text into a certain field in your CRM. And that saves you from having to go and copy and paste manually and add all your notes. You can just see the snapshot there that, okay, my client call notes were added and then an email was sent. And then, as I mentioned, highlighting in different colors each item that could be automated, integrated, or outsourced. So it might be that after you've sent an initial email, you want that person to go into your normal mailing list because now they've made an inquiry. Hopefully that abides by your opt-in rules, but you would want to perhaps to start another automation off the back of that. So once that original email is sent out, there's a trigger that occurs, whether it's you move them into a new subscriber group, where then after 3 days, another email goes out which talks about your products and services. So that's a way that you might have integration and outsourcing work and automation working together. Grouping the tasks that can be automated. So on a separate document or using the post-it notes in one group, group your automation tasks and link them. And then, as I mentioned, what software is responsible for which task, which tasks connect directly, and what is the trigger for the task. So when you're building an automation, the trigger is really important. So whether that's it gets moved to a certain label in your inbox, that can be a trigger. Subscribing to a list, a mailing list can be a trigger, or a new form entry, for example, something on your website, that can be a trigger. So what's the trigger for the task? What other software does it need to connect to, or is it just in the one software that you're using? And how do the tasks connect? So is there a manual step in the middle there that you have to complete? So I'd mentioned that I want to actually complete the first email myself. That's the manual part. But what's the next part that can be automated or integrated? And that was sending the email back into the CRM. So you would look at how all your tasks relate and which sections of those can be automated or integrated, and then creating steps for that in Zapier or in your actual software itself, if they've got that ability. Group those tasks that can be integrated. So the same thing, which software is responsible for which task. Can you connect them? Check your integration setting page. So most of them now are pretty advanced, and you can integrate your apps with almost anything, especially if you use the Google Workspace as well. There's a lot of capability that comes with using Google Workspace in terms of integration. And what data do you want integrated? Is it just name, phone, and email? Do you want financial data to be integrated across somewhere? Do you want this creating a report for you to be able to witness the conversion of clients? So looking at what data you actually want integrated with each step in that process map that you've built out. And we'll look at MailerLite in a second. And grouping the tasks that can be outsourced. And this can be very varied in tasks. So you might have a list of automation tasks, outsourcing tasks that you've created, but you might divide that again into virtual assistant type tasks and specialty tasks. So which tasks are the easy and repetitive ones versus which ones are specific to a certain type of knowledge or ability? So which ones really might need, say, for example, the paraplanning software, the paraplanning skill set, or the mortgage broking skill set. Obviously, that isn't something that you can send to a normal virtual assistant service. So you want to split them out in that sense as well. And you may not have any ones that are super complicated that need to be going out to those more advanced service providers. You might just have a whole bunch of simple tasks that are just time consuming that you really don't need to be doing in-house, but you still want to kind of be overseeing them. You want to have a bit of control in setting the task up, or maybe the task varies slightly each time, or sometimes it's not. Sometimes it might be something as simple as, again, in financial plannings, people have to make phone calls to the insurance and superannuation funds to determine all the details that are on a client's account. That's something that you could potentially, if the service exists, get outsourced, because it's kind of a waste of your time, of your staff's time, or your time calling and sitting on hold all day, every day, trying to speak to a provider of insurance or superannuation. But that's something that you're more than happy for a third party to do, and they can send you back a research sheet with all the information that they've collected from that call. And then how would you be able to describe how to complete those tasks? Is it complicated or is it simple? The ones that are simple, you can look again. Can any of them be automated or integrated instead? If not, that's fine. You could create a template. So say how I spoke before about you've got those, the task list of items that you can add a task and they'll address it. You can create a template of that task. So if you know that's one that gets completed regularly, but you do still need someone, a real person completing that task, you can have it so that template just copies and pastes. So understanding how you would describe how to complete the task helps you understand what you're looking for when you go and start researching the different agencies that are available. So research and action, what do you do then? So you've got your lists and you've got your steps and you're pretty sure you know what you're looking at. What additional applications, if any, do you need access to? For example, Zapier. So Zapier, as I mentioned, is kind of the gold standard for automation. So it can come, there is a free version available. I think it limits you to 2-step zaps and only a certain number of times that zap can repeat. But I think the increased packages are still relatively affordable given the amount of work they actually complete for you. Create a map of all the integrations and automations to help you remember. So once you start building them, and if you have a lot of experience with this or you have done a few before and you're confident in doing them yourself, always map them out or at least have a summary. So whether it's a spreadsheet and you've got a summary of what each zap actually performs, that's probably the one downside in Zapier is there's no way of just kind of looking at a description of what that zap does. So you've got the name and you've got, when you click to open it, you can see the steps listed, but there's no description of what it is. So I would actually recommend creating a separate description list for what each automation or integration actually completes, or you could keep it in a separate document if you wanted, or map it out. And then start with the simplest one for practice. So it might be tempting to tackle the one that is going to be most impactful on your business, but I can guarantee that will be the most complicated one that you set up. So if I were you, you would probably want to start with something really simple, which is like what I said with the CRM linking to your Gmail or getting a notification when someone subscribes. Start setting up with something simple like that and use all of the help articles or use the YouTube videos to see how it goes. And once you start getting your brain around how creating an automation works, you're going to start thinking of all the extra steps that you can add in or add on to add value to each of those automations or integrations. Just some good points to remember for these. Always run tests. So there is a test step on every layer of your Zapier automations. Always run that test. And if it's not working, run the test again. So run tests every time and then create some live examples as well. So check any troubleshooting or error warnings. It will come up with a little exclamation mark to say that a step is incomplete or it doesn't connect properly. But double check live examples. So go in and make the actual booking, for example, in Calendly, and do it as a dummy booking. And then once you've published that Zap, go and see if creating that booking actually runs through the automation that you've set up. So do a couple of those live examples before you actually just let it out to market on your clients. Name your automations clearly. So this is a bit of a disaster I come across in businesses a lot, is not having the name of the automations really easy to understand, or not utilizing folders in Zapier as well. So create a folder into either the function that they serve or the area of your business operations. So for example, if it's client meetings and you've got a whole bunch of Zaps set up around that, put all of the ones that relate to client meetings into one folder so you can find them. So keep them organized like a really good filing system on your computer. Ensure your budget is considered as well. So whether it's automation, integration, or outsourcing, make sure you have your budget before you start going and looking at solutions, because you might get a bit of a root shock otherwise as to what you can afford for that. And then seek flexibility to upgrade or downgrade, or the option for rolling hours. So Zapier is great for if we're looking at automation or integration. You can upgrade or downgrade at any time. For outsourcing, you want to see that they've got that option as well. So either you, for example, sign up to have 10 hours per month of work completed. If you don't meet that 10 hours that month and you don't want to commit to another 10 hours, ensure that you are allowed to downgrade your hours, that it's not in your agreement that you have to commit to 10 hours per month ongoing for the next 12 months, for example. Or see if they've got the option for rolling hours. If you don't have, if you haven't used your full 10 hours for that month, when you go into the second month, see if they'll actually allow you to roll those hours over. Sometimes it does take an email to reach out to them to say, hey, sorry, this is just a once off, but next month we're going to use heaps. Would you guys mind if we actually roll our hours through? A lot of the time, if you just ask the question, then they're actually willing to help you out. And then the most important question to ask yourself is, can I automate or integrate or outsource this? So whatever you're doing in your business, whatever task you're completing, and get your staff members to do the same thing, get them to ask every time they do something, can I automate or integrate or outsource this? And that is the key to growth and expansion in your business. So what I'll do now is I'll just cancel that, and I'm just going to share my screen and I'm going to have a look at a couple of examples. All right, now I'm not going to go into detail with this. And I hope you can see that. Not sure that's worked. Okay, I hope that's worked. You can see Zapier here. Maybe send me a chat message if it's not. So you can see here, here's an example of renewal payment Stripe in Mailer Light Group, but you can see from what I'm looking at here, this is an example of our Zaps that we've got set up. Now, there's a whole bunch sitting in draft, but what I've done recently is because I restarted these and I'm updating every single Zap, I created an interim folder called Updated September 2023, and those are the ones most recently that I've started establishing. It's important to move them across to make sure if you are updating them that you know which ones are the most relevant, because otherwise the list of them can be a bit nightmarish. As you can see here, there's a whole bunch of them there that are off in drafts that aren't used. And Zaps over here, there's all these ones that are on and they were set up in a mix between 2022, 2023. And it's not always super clear what they do or if they've been updated to all the relevant apps. But if we create a Zap here, you can see you can actually use AI in this now. So you can actually simply explain what it is that you want to happen, and the AI tool will start helping you to generate that. Or you can set a trigger, and I'm not necessarily going to create one here, but you can see all the apps that you can search. So let's say we are going to use a MailerLite one. You can select your program. Now it's already connected to that account, but let's choose the event. So this is the trigger. So this might be a subscriber added to a group, a spam complaint, a subscriber's bounced. You can choose from a range of different events. So let's say we've got subscriber unsubscribed. Continue. You check that you're connected. Continue, and then test. Now this is important because it needs this data to be able to pre-fill the following steps. What it's going to do is it's looking for this information here that we've got pulled up. And then you want to choose what your action is. So when someone unsubscribes, what do you want to happen? We obviously can't email them, but maybe we want to be notified personally. Or maybe you want that information sent somewhere else. So let's say we want to have an email sent. Excuse me. You can select Gmail and choose what the event is. So we want to send an email. Continue. Choose your account that you want connected. And test, you can test the action after you've completed these fields. So who you would send it to, let's say to me. Excuse me. You can enter the details of from, so it's going to be from a certain email address. From name, I always like to put admin, for example, or my name, and in brackets via Zapier. It's really helpful knowing when an email that you've received comes from Zapier, not actually from a human being. So I recommend doing that in here. Reply to, you would want the same field for admin. Subject, you need to enter that. So unsubscribe, for example. Oh. And then you can enter the body text. So you might have, we can even pretend that it's not an unsubscribe. And you can enter the field. So for example, the name. Please send a thank you card, for example, pretend it's not unsubscribe. but you can enter what you want. So it could be an instruction to your staff members. So instead of your staff having to manually remember every time they get a subscriber that they need to send a thank you card or a welcome postcard or something like that, you can create a Zap that's going to send them that as a task to their email. Or if you use Basecamp, for example, you could actually add a step in here where it's actually going to create a campfire message, create a to-do, or create a to-do list, things like that. So especially using programs like Basecamp or anything that does project management, you're going to find automation and integration really, really useful. So that's just an example very lightly of how to create a trigger, how to add different apps and choose the functions of them in Zapier. So I would just remember to delete your draft to spare you from finding it later. And if they're not working, just use the feature by the help feature in here. They are very useful, and they will actually a lot of the time come back to you with a personal email explaining why something's not working or what needs to be completed to fix it. So the Zapier help is incredibly useful. And here's just a show of, say, for example, MailerLite is our CRM. You can see here down under settings, there's integrations. This shows you all of the integrations that you can use with MailerLite. So this one may not have that many, but you can see they've got one with Canva. That could be really useful because I could input information. Input Canva designs into an email draft that I'm working on in MailerLite so that I don't have to go and download the file separately and add it as a file. I can actually integrate them. That's a big time save. Stripe. So if I want to have Stripe data, so payment information feeding through to the subscribers, that's an integration. So integrations are usually very simple to set up. You just choose use. It'll give you some information here and how to set it up. So connect with Stripe, and usually it's by an API key or a login as well. So you can see there, it's saying to connect with it. You would just click connect, and then you can choose the data that it's feeding through as well. Okay, that sort of wraps up what I was going to talk about automation, integration, and outsourcing. Just a reminder that if you ask yourself at every stage of your day, what can I automate, what can I integrate, and what can I outsource, you're going to find so many opportunities for you to reduce the manual labor that you're completing in your business operations every day. And that is going to speed up your efficiency and your processes, and hopefully long-term mean long-term success for your business rather than getting a bit overwhelmed and drowning in tasks as your business grows. Thank you very much. It's been lovely speaking with you, and enjoy the rest of your day.